You're standing in your kitchen right now. Maybe it's Tuesday, maybe it's Sunday night. You open the fridge, you pull out a container from 2 days ago, you put it in the microwave, you press 3 minutes, and you feel good about it. You're not wasting food. You're being smart. You're being practical. You learned this from your parents and you've done it your whole life. But what if I told you that the simple act you just performed, the thing you do 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week, is creating compounds inside that food that directly feed the development of cancer cells in one of the most vulnerable organs in your body, an organ you never think about, an organ that never tells you it's in trouble. Your pancreas. Let me give you a number. The 5-year survival rate for pancreatic cancer is under 12%. I'll say that again. Fewer than 12 out of every 100 people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer will still be alive 5 years later. That's not a number from the 1950s. That's today. With modern medicine, with chemotherapy, with surgical teams that have spent decades perfecting the Whipple procedure. Under 12%. And here's what makes it devastating in a way that other cancers are not. Your pancreas never sends you a warning. It doesn't hurt while it's being damaged. It doesn't swell. It doesn't give you a sign. And by the time you feel something wrong enough to see a doctor, the damage in the majority of cases has already spread beyond the point where anything can be done. I have sat across from patients, people in their 60s and 70s, people who thought they were doing everything right, and I've watched their faces change when they hear that diagnosis. And almost every single one of them asks the same question. Why didn't anyone tell me? Today I'm telling you. There are 4 specific leftover foods that when reheated undergo chemical transformations that produce carcinogenic compounds, compounds that target your digestive system, your liver, and your pancreas with a precision that should terrify you. I'm going to go through all 4, starting with the most dangerous. And the third one on this list is going to shock you because it's the one nearly every person over 60 reheats without a second thought. Number 1. Reheated cooking oils and anything fried in them. This is the most dangerous item on this list, and it's not close. When you take leftover fried food, fried chicken, fried fish, French fries, anything that was cooked in vegetable oil or seed oil, and you reheat it, you are not simply warming that food back up. You are accelerating a chemical process called lipid peroxidation. Every time an unsaturated cooking oil is heated, it breaks down. It produces compounds called aldehydes. 2 of the most dangerous are 4-hydroxynonenal, known as 4-HNE, and melandialdehyde, known as MDA. These are not theoretical risks. These are measured, documented carcinogenic compounds. 4-HNE causes direct oxidative damage to cellular DNA. It disrupts the normal cycle of cell death and regeneration. It creates an environment in your tissues where mutated cells are more likely to survive and multiply. MDA does something similar, but it also forms what are called DNA adducts, meaning it physically bonds to your genetic material and corrupts the instructions your cells use to replicate. When you reheat fried food, you are taking oil that has already been degraded by its first heating, and you are degrading it further, pushing aldehyde concentrations even higher. Studies have measured aldehyde levels in reheated oils at 2 to 3 times the concentration found after initial frying. And where does this go when you eat it? It goes through your stomach, into your small intestine, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream, and it passes directly through your liver and your pancreas. These organs are the first to process what you absorb. They take the hit. What you should do instead is never reheat food that was deep-fried or pan-fried in oil. If you made fried chicken last night, eat it cold, or don't eat it at all. And if you're going to fry, never reuse cooking oil. Every reheating multiplies the toxicity. But fried food is only the beginning, because the second food on this list is something you probably reheated this week. Number 2, processed meats, bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli ham. You cook them for breakfast. You don't finish. You put the rest in the fridge. Next morning, you microwave what's left. This is extraordinarily common and it is extraordinarily dangerous. Processed meats already contain sodium nitrite and sodium nitrate as preservatives. These compounds are added during manufacturing to prevent bacterial growth and maintain the pink color you associate with freshness. When these meats are heated the first time, some of those nitrites and nitrates convert into compounds called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as Group 1 carcinogens. That is the same classification as tobacco smoke and asbestos. Group 1 does not mean probably carcinogenic. It means there is sufficient evidence in humans that these compounds cause cancer. Now here's what happens when you reheat processed meat. You drive that conversion further. The second round of heat pushes more of the remaining nitrites into nitrosamine formation. You are essentially doubling down on a chemical reaction that was already dangerous the first time. Nitrosamines have a particular affinity for the cells lining your gastrointestinal tract, your stomach, your colon, and your pancreatic duct. They cause alkylation of DNA, which means they add chemical groups to your genetic code in places where they don't belong, leading to transcription errors, leading to mutations, leading to uncontrolled cell growth. The research on this is not ambiguous. The link between processed meat consumption and colorectal cancer is one of the most established relationships in nutritional epidemiology, and reheating amplifies the mechanism. What you should do is simple. If you cook processed meat, cook only what you're going to eat in that sitting. Do not store and reheat. Better yet, begin reducing your consumption of processed meats entirely, especially after 60, when your body's DNA repair mechanisms are already slowing down. And this brings me to the third food on this list. And I need you to pay attention here because this is the one that catches everyone off guard. Number 3, rice. Plain white rice. Brown rice, too. I can feel some of you already dismissing this. Rice. How can rice be carcinogenic? Listen carefully. The danger with reheated rice is not about what forms during heating, it's about what grows during cooling. Rice, when it's cooked and left to cool at room temperature even for a short period, becomes a breeding ground for a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This organism exists naturally on uncooked rice in the form of spores. Cooking does not kill these spores. They survive boiling temperatures. And once the rice begins to cool, those spores germinate and the bacteria begin producing a toxin called cereulide. Cereulide is heat stable. That means when you reheat the rice, even at high temperatures, even in a microwave, even in a pan, the toxin survives. You cannot cook it away. Cereulide causes direct damage to mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside your cells. It has been shown in research to cause acute liver toxicity and to induce inflammatory cascades in pancreatic tissue. Repeated exposure to this toxin creates a state of chronic low-grade inflammation in your digestive organs. And chronic inflammation is one of the most well-established precursors to cancer development. Your pancreas, already quietly working without ever sending you a distress signal, absorbs this inflammation over years. Now I want to stop here for a moment, because I need to tell you something that changes how you should think about all of this. None of these 4 foods will give you cancer from a single exposure. That's not how it works. What happens is accumulation. Silent, invisible, years-long accumulation. You reheat rice twice a week. You microwave leftover bacon every Sunday. You warm up fried fish from the night before. Each time, a small amount of carcinogenic compound enters your system. Each time, your cells absorb a little more damage. Each time, your DNA repair mechanisms, which are already declining because you are over 60, fall a little further behind. There is no alarm. There is no symptom. There is no blood test that catches this. Until one day there is a mass. And by then, the question is no longer how to prevent it. It's whether anything can still be done. That's the weight I carry every time I see a patient who spent decades doing something they thought was harmless. I'm not trying to frighten you. I am trying to reach you before it's too late. Let me tell you the fourth food. Number 4. Leftover potatoes. Specifically potatoes that have been cooked, stored, and then reheated at high temperatures. When you bake, roast, or fry potatoes and then reheat them, particularly in a microwave or a second round in the oven, you trigger additional formation of a compound called acrylamide. Acrylamide forms through something called the Maillard reaction, the same chemical browning process that gives potatoes their golden color and crispy texture. The amino acid asparagine, which is naturally abundant in potatoes, reacts with reducing sugars at high temperatures to produce acrylamide. The first cooking creates some acrylamide. The reheating creates more. Every additional cycle of heating pushes the concentration higher, especially in the browned or crispy portions. Acrylamide is classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as a Group 2A carcinogen, meaning it is probably carcinogenic to humans, with strong evidence from animal studies and a clear biological mechanism. Once ingested, acrylamide is metabolized by your liver into a compound called glycidamide. Glycidamide is the truly dangerous agent. It forms covalent bonds with DNA, creating mutations at specific sites that have been linked in research to increased risk of renal, ovarian, and pancreatic cancers. Your body can process small amounts of acrylamide, but the capacity to do so declines with age. After 60, your liver's phase 2 detoxification enzymes, the ones responsible for neutralizing glycidamide, operate at reduced efficiency. So the same exposure that a 30-year-old might handle without consequence becomes a cumulative threat in someone whose detoxification systems are already compromised. What you should do instead is eat leftover potatoes cold when possible, in a potato salad, for example. If you must reheat them, do so at the lowest temperature you can, avoid rebrowning or recrisping, and never reheat potatoes that have already been fried. Here's what I want you to do this week. Don't just file this information away. Act on it. Think back over the last 30 days. How many times did you reheat one of these 4 foods? Which one shows up the most in your routine? Is it the leftover fried food from dinner? Is it the bacon you always cook too much of on weekends? Is it the big pot of rice you make on Monday and eat all week? Is it the roasted potatoes you warm up for lunch every other day? Find the one that applies most to your life and change it, not next month, this week. Cook smaller portions of that food so you don't have leftovers, or eat those leftovers cold, or replace that food entirely with something that doesn't become a vehicle for carcinogenic compounds every time you press the reheat button. Your pancreas has been silently absorbing everything you've sent its way for decades. It has never complained. It has never given you a signal. And that silence is not a sign that everything is fine. It is the very reason this kind of damage goes undetected until it's catastrophic. Which of these 4 do you reheat the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. In my next video, I'm going to show you the 3 oils you cook with every day that produce more carcinogens than any of these 4 foods, and the one switch that eliminates the risk overnight.